Hello everyone, my name is Beckett and welcome back to the channel. And today in Division 2 we are finally bringing back our build video series. It has been a few weeks and I am happy to bring you something that I actually enjoy and I'm actually having fun playing. But before we get started, if you enjoy the content, hit that like, leave a comment, hit that notification bell so you get notified when my next video comes up. And also, if you do not like YouTube, I am also over on Odyssey, which is like a alt tech. It is actually much better than YouTube and it's much more rewarding for a lot of creators. So if you want to check me out there, go ahead and check me out there. So let's get into this. Alright, first off, let's get in this playstyle. So it is a very aggressive build. If you watch any of my build videos, it's rare that I do a passive build. Sometimes I'll do a turret build, healing build, something like that. But generally, I like to stay very aggressive. It's one of my favorite playstyles. It goes back to my roots from Call of Duty and other such experiences as growing up. Now, we will be utilizing the Memento, one of my favorite exotics. It's probably one of the best exotics if you are looking to build your own aggressive playstyle. Just that armor regen, skill efficiency, and the extra weapon damage all built into one, and every time you pick up your little kill token you get that extra huge buff. It's just an amazing way to play. Now I do want to mention that this build is heavily based on RNG. Now does that mean it's going to affect your damage if you are in a lull period? Let's say you're just not getting those procs. No, in fact it's going to be doing pretty good damage and in line with most other skill builds, but when those RNGs are going off and you're dropping 4 or 5 seeker mines, you're able to just constantly spam those skills. You are going to be doing some insane damage and wiping a room by yourself, and your teammates are just going to be standing around and being like, what do we do? Now it is heavily based on your decision making. So when you make quick decisions and right decisions on the fly, you are going to be able to do some insane amount of damage. But if you are picking the wrong targets, let's say going after chungas all the time, you are going to struggle a little bit, and you need to know that moving forward. Now as for specializations, we have a couple different choices. You can either go with the classic, the technician, or you can go with demolition. I decided to go with the demolition just because we're going to get that extra explosive damage and we are going to be building around explosive damage. Now if you like to switch out that secondary skill depending on what situation you are, you can always go with technician, and you can always throw an extra red core, extra armor core if you feel like you are just a little bit squishy. Now I do want to mention before we actually hop into the build that the gameplay you're seeing in the background is from the global event. So your damage may vary. You may be doing a little more damage in regular heroics, or you may be doing a little less damage, just depending on your skill damage, skill haste, whatever is going on in the different situations in your environment. Now as for weapons, we're going to be going with the exotic capacitor, and we're going to be able to keep this up most of the time. The only time we're really going to be switching out of it is if we're out of ammo, and that's why we have our harmony as backup. We're going to be able to do that extra 40% skill damage, but ideally you're going to want to keep the capacitor out all the time. Try to keep your stacks at 40 all the time so we can get that extra weapon damage, we can get that extra skill damage. Also, we will be running demolition, so if you get into trouble you can always pull out your grenade launcher and just spam, and it's going to stagger and just take care of any big issues. Say we're dealing with a chunga that just doesn't want to die. Now as for our backpack, we will be going with the Memento. It just has so many great features. Since we are going to be playing very aggressive, we're going to get that 30% weapon damage, we're going to get that 30% skill efficiency, so that means 30% skill haste, 30% skill damage, as well as all the other skill effects that comes into that. And we're going to have 3% armor regen. That's going to really let us do whatever we want, move around very aggressively, so we don't really ever have to worry about staying in one place, staying in cover. Not only that, every time we get a kill, we're going to be dropping those kill confirmed tokens, and you're going to want to be really aggressive and try to pick those up when you can, but do not get yourself killed, because every time we pick one of those up, we're going to get another 30% skill efficiency, and that's really going to let us guarantee that we are always getting those RNG procs. We're always doing that massive amount of damage, whether we're using a sniper turret, we're using a sticky bomb, or we're always going to be using our go-to seeker mines. Now as for our other pieces, we're going to want to make sure we have a 3-piece of Empress International. It does not matter where it is, but you're going to want to make sure you re-roll every piece of gear to skill damage and skill haste, especially that skill haste. It's really going to help during those lull periods, because sometimes there are like a few times, maybe you'll do 30 seconds to a minute where you're just not getting those procs that you want to get, and it feels frustrating, and that skill haste is really going to help us so we can be able to spam an ability every 10 to 15 seconds and just really make sure we're not letting our team down. Now for our other pieces, we're going to be using 1 piece of China and 1 piece of Wyvern. Now Wyvern, we're going to get that 10% skill damage, and for the China, we're going to get that extra 15% explosive damage. Now if you're using other skills, you can always go with 2 Hannah U's, so you can get that extra skill haste and skill damage, but ideally we're going to want to stick to explosives. It just works so much better, and we're going to be putting out so much more damage. Now as for our chest piece, the talent we are going to be re-rolling to, or if we get a piece with it, we're going to be using skilled. So every time we get a skill kill, we're going to have a 25% chance to reset our skill cooldowns. Now this is going to be happening quite a bit, and we're really going to use it for those spawn points where we see a lot of red, purple enemies coming out, and if we can time those sticky bombs, those seeker mines right, we can usually almost guarantee we're going to get another shot, and we can just keep spamming and spamming, and a lot of times you can just destroy everything except Chungas immediately and get that going and just keep pumping out those skills. Now as for the gear mods, you're just going to want to make sure we have skill haste in everything. The more skill haste you have in the build, the smoother the rotation feels, because during those lull periods where we're not getting those RNG procs, you're going to want to have your skills back off cooldown as soon as possible so we can either get another proc or just do more damage, and that's going to be very important inside this build. It just feels a lot smoother the higher the skill haste gets. When you're down to just pushing out a skill every 10 seconds, whether you have RNG procs or not, it's going to feel really good, and when you start picking up those kill confirm tokens, you're going to even have less of a cooldown. It's usually about in between about 6 to 10 seconds sometimes on my sticky bomb, and about 15 to 20 seconds on my seeker mines when I'm not getting those procs. Now as for our skills, we're going to be using the sticky bomb, one of my favorites. It's a Division 1 classic. I've always loved this skill, and we're going to be using the seeker mine, probably one of the most fun skills or any abilities in any shooter that I've ever got to play with. It's just very fun. Throw a grenade, let it roll, and destroy everything. Now it's very important on how you use both of these because they're going to work in tandem. Usually you're going to want to open up with your sticky bomb because you're going to have a lot of clustered enemies, and you're going to be able to do the most damage and have the most chances of getting a proc. So if we kill 5 enemies with 1 sticky, it's pretty much guaranteed you're going to get that. Not always, but you have 25% chance on each enemy, and it's going to be a very high chance. Now there are going to be situations where it's just more beneficial to use your seeker mine first, since the seeker mine we are going to be using is the cluster, so it's going to split up. So if you throw out that seeker mine when they're all bunched up, they're all going to split apart, and it's going to be much harder to make the most efficient use out of your sticky bomb. Now one tip I have for the seeker mines is sometimes they are just really stupid and they just won't track the target. So it's better just to instant deploy because they'll automatically track all the targets in range no matter how far away from them you are. Sometimes there is a range, but usually if they're within like 30 or 40 meters, you're going to have no problem. Sometimes when you throw it, it doesn't actually detect it, and I don't know if this is a bug, but I've had this happen to me a lot. Now you'll just have to look what button is depending if you're on console or you're using a keyboard and mouse. A lot of times you can just go to the skill and you'll see one will say instant deploy. You'll have a few different options, and I just prefer to do the instant deploy. It just works much better because everything is going to be dispersed after you throw out your sticky bomb, so it does not really matter as long as they hit the target and get that kill. That's the only thing we really care about. Now as for my stats, you're just going to want to make sure you have those 6 skill tiers, so your sticky bombs, your seeker mines will do the most amount of damage. Other than that, your skill haste is going to be about 120. That's where mine is right now with the max, and when you get those buffs coming in, you're going to get that 30% from picking up all the tokens, and you're going to get an extra 30% whenever you pick up a token for that 10-second buff. So you're going to be sitting at almost at 200% skill haste, which feels really good, and it makes the build feel really smooth. Now the biggest downfall to this build is the RNG, so you're just going to want to be very selective with your decision making. You don't want to worry about chungas. Honestly, let your team deal with that unless you're running solo, and then it's not that much of a problem. But we're really going to be looking for those red health bar enemies, those purple, and we're going to want them bunched up. Throw that sticky bomb out, get that big explosion, and if it does not kill them, throw out your seeker mine and it should finish off everything. You're going to notice that you're going to be getting a majority of the kills, and you're going to be able to stack up memento very quick. So the usual delay of memento where you have to wait maybe 10 minutes. Now with this build, I find myself with almost max stacks or about 20 stacks within the first couple minutes of any random heroic, and this has been my go-to skill build as of recently. I find it very fun. done with my very aggressive playstyle. Now, if you really love aggressive playstyles, test this out. Let me know what you think. Let me know how it performs to you, because I am in love with this build right now. And if you have any questions, comments, tips, go ahead and leave them down there, and I will try to answer everyone that I can. And as always, just keep it civil, and thanks again for watching.